The political problem for the right wing in America is significantly more complicated than it is for Europeans, if you're an ethno-nationalist, that is. In Europe, they're smaller countries, their identities are much more fixed because they've been around longer. America is much younger compared to Europe. In America, we have a little bit more factionalism. We're also the size of a continent, so there's a lot of regionalism and regional differences between Americans that actually do matter. A lot of people think that doesn't exist, but they do exist. Maybe a little bit less than they used to because of mass media, but they still exist and they still matter. Now, America is also not homogenous. It's a nation of heterogeneity. It's very, very diverse. And obviously, if you're an ethno-nationalist, the goal is to reverse that in the long term. Because of that, you can't place your bets on a populist leader. The reason that's the case is because from the perspective of a populist leader who wants to win elections, even if he was a dictator and didn't have to be elected in, but had to appeal to the masses to some degree, because all leaders have to appeal to the masses, because even in an absolute dictatorship, if everybody in your society hates you and the whole populace hates you, it's going to be so unstable that you wouldn't be able to sustain your government to rule over those people. They'd eventually overturn you, and some other elite would maybe take advantage of that situation, or you would just have total chaos in the streets, and maybe your own military would be so disgusted with you that they wouldn't even be disciplined enough to defend you and may turn on you. It could get that bad. But the point I wanted to make is that for American ethno-nationalists, the populist sort of approach isn't very feasible. Unfortunately, I would like it to be feasible, but it's not. And the reason that is because of the heterogeneous nature of the country, that you're going to have to appeal to the multiple different ethnic groups in some way in America in order to get them to vote for you or to get popular approval. And the funny thing is that the only one you really don't have to do that for is white Americans, because white Americans don't think as a group. Most of us think as individuals. That's obviously a large problem that a lot of people on the right have tried to fix or plant the seeds of a consciousness that would, hopefully inspire more white Americans to not think of themselves as just atomized individuals. And atomization is, very much a large issue that creates a lack of national identity, especially in this country. However, the way to essentially win in a playing field like this, where the odds are kind of stacked against you when it comes to state power, is to look at how state power really existed in the first place.
I just killed your fucking radio.
3 years ago, I had done a video on Bertrand de Jouvenel's book On Power. Very popular book if you're into elite theory. He makes a good point that you could really trace proto-states back to large families in tribes that were domineering and that had authority and that people trusted. And modern states obviously grow out of those kinds of structures. And essentially the state and the law is the culmination or crystallization of the will of the masses and the customs and what the masses believe to be good and bad into a organized body that enacts those customs. And the reason it works and that people have trust in it is because it reflects the will of the people. And obviously the people running the government are not necessarily completely separate from the people who are part of the society in general. Those things are obviously related. And the reason, as I was saying before, the reason it works is because they are in tune with one another. If the state or the people have a disunited will, it collapses sooner or later. It just does. And that goes for democratic societies, that goes for dictatorships. Now, the way for ethno-nationalists to win in America is to eventually be able to get the state to share the same will as these ethno-nationalists. Of course, I mean, it wouldn't work otherwise. Now, how is that done? Obviously, that's done through intentional community. And there are other people who focus on that kind of thing, specifically Ereval, that's kind of his niche now. And these communities will impregnate the idea into society. And I think that you can't really have these ideas in society if you don't have epicenters from where these ideas grow. So in my opinion, and I'm curious to hear other people's thoughts on this, in order to successfully win in this game, long-term speaking, you need to really ferment these ideas in society as much as possible through community.